Alrighty, everyone. I'm going to issue a warning right off the top. Today's content has some graphic information. It is definitely geared towards adults. We are going to be talking about sex. Is it slutty or is it sacred? And what makes the difference? So if you don't feel like you can handle today's topic, you probably shouldn't have clicked on the title. So let's jump into that. I want to address an issue that comes up over and over and over again, and that is sex. And by the way, second little disclaimer, this has nothing to do with who you choose to partner with. So whether or not you are straight, gay, we are not talking about that. Instead, we are going over the physiological effects of sex, what happens in your energetic matrix, and how that affects your spirituality. There are so many religions out there that put out content or they have doctrines against premarital sex, fornication, and there's not a whole lot of explanation as to why that is, except for the fact that they say it's a sin against God. They don't want God's interpretation is that that is something that is very damaging to the spirit. I come from a Mormon background, and they will tell you that sex, premarital sex, is next to murder on the sin scale in the eyes of God. And that is so damaging in terms of your psyche and your spirituality. And the reality is that church is, like many other churches, full of perverse and twisted clergymen. So I can't really take what they're saying seriously, since they're not teaching the full truth of what's happening internally and spiritually within the body. Our society is inundated with sex, with sexual imagery, with nudity, subliminal messages, innuendos, jokes, and the list goes on and on. We have Disney that is supposed to be geared towards children, pre-sexualizing them instead, and they do it deliberately. Why is that? Because they know how powerful sex is. Well, who's they? Okay. That would be the entertainment industry. They can take a stick of gum, and depending on how they put it in their mouth and blow a bubble and pop the bubble, they can take that image, make it sexual, and before you know it, you're actually pretty horny. I saw a commercial not too long ago. It was a Samsung commercial, which of course is cell phone, and they had an image of this dog. You see that right there? In the commercial, she's got her auburn hair blown out, her illustrious backside flowing back and forth. That's what these arrows indicate right here. When I pulled this image off the internet, is because these arrows are showing this dog's backside going back and forth, swaying, and it's supposed to be the image of a sexual dog. You're supposed to be turned on by this. Well, what else do we call this but bestiality? Now, you may not realize that that's what they are advertising to your subconscious mind, because they do it with music and the clip is really fast. It's supposed to be funny, so that way, if it's under the umbrella of comedy or funny, then you don't realize how damaging that is to the subconscious mind and what they're actually trying to advertise to you. When you are watching television, your brainwave state goes into a beta so that you're relaxed, you're nice and calm, and your mind is open to suggestion. And in this case, the suggestion is that this dog is sexy. Now, I don't know about you, but all these perversions of sex have really taken us away from the original power of the spiritual essence of sexuality. So let's talk about how that happens internally in the physiology. When we think about sex, oftentimes most people will think that just happens in your pants. Okay, that your crotch, the function of the crotch, is where sexuality comes from, and that's not where it starts. Okay, in the pineal gland, the spiritual center, there's a relationship between that and the reproductive organs. Now, for a more in-depth study on this, you'll want to look at Santos Bonacci, because he's going to cover what's called the holy oil, and we'll just scratch the surface of it a little bit. But he's going to go over the astrological effects on the body and how that happens in everybody's system each month. Now, when we go over it, we're just going to use umbrella phrases. There is an oil that is secreted by the sebum or from the holy claustrum. Okay. And this holy oil, meaning Christos, is secreted by each one of us once a month. And it's released inside of the sebum or the cerebrum, and it travels down the spine. And this is what we also call the tree of life. Now, this holy oil that travels down the spine is going to do so via the Ida and the Pingala nerves. And it goes down the spine like the Kundalini energy or the Kunda buffer. Now, the objective is to go down into the sacrum. Okay. And then if it is not expended via an orgasm, the idea is for this holy oil to snake its way up back into the pineal gland. Now, when this happens, this pineal gland is lubricated. This oil lubricates not only that, but the pituitary gland, and it lights up the optic thalamus. And when that happens, that is known as the light of the world, and spiritual illumination happens. Hold on just a sec. When I was sitting in church for 40 years, especially when I was younger, I would see pictures of Jesus with a light helmet on. And I never understood that, because as somebody who sees auric fields, there's an aura that emanates from each one of us that is not just around the head like a halo, but it emanates from the entire body. So when I would see pictures like this with a light helmet on, I didn't understand why the light wasn't emanating from Christ's entire body. It just remained around the head. And when I would ask about that, I never got any viable answers that satisfied me. I was just told that it's the light of Christ. Well, what that is this this holy oil that comes up and lubricates the brain. What happens is it is the God brain. That's what we call the God brain. So now when that oil lubricates these centers and the light of the world happens, the God brain is activated, you have millions and millions of dormant brain cells that are now activated, and the true spiritual self emerges. That's what these pictures are supposedly depicting, although I doubt you'll get your pastor or your preacher or your bishop to explain what's really going on. This God brain is why you see the pictures of Jesus with the halo around only his head. It's not referring to the auric field. Now, for those of you who have studied MK Ultra or trauma-based mind control, you're going to probably understand this information more so than those who haven't. Now, this is very sensitive information, so I'm just warning you right now. When they are taking these little children, and these could be babies, toddlers, prepubescent children, whether they're male, female, that doesn't matter, they will stimulate these children via electrodes or anything else that will induce an artificial orgasm. These children can orgasm. Well, when they are brought to the time of orgasm, the handler, whether it's a programmer, I call them the abusers, they're handlers, they will, at the time of climax, they'll embed some sort of command or subliminal message because they know that at the moment of climax, these children are very, very open to the deepest recesses of the subconscious mind, and they can drive in the programs deep, deep, deep within these kids. Okay. Now, that happens not only to the children, but it happens when you and I climax. We are open in such a way that we have access to the subconscious mind, and our energetic matrix is flowing in a way that allows access to all these different centers of our body, the spiritual chakras or the spiritual centers as well. So that's why these programmers will do that when they induce orgasm into these children. That's how deeply this programming goes. It's a very powerful state, and it shouldn't be trifled with. So I do want to make that point. I also want to make a point that as we go into I don't want to say negative aspects of sexuality, but let's just say if you're a little more on the slutty side, and whether you're a male or a female, you get to be the judge of where your ho-ometer is. Because we're going to talk about what happens when we have flagrant sex, when sex is just sex, which is never really true. And then we're going to talk about what happens when you have more of a holy union. Now, let's talk about the slutty side. Not only are you risking communicable diseases, unwanted pregnancies, maybe a bad reputation if you care about that sort of thing, there's something that happens that's way deeper than all of that. Whether you are masturbating through fantasy, or maybe you are having sex in a club bathroom, let's talk about what happens energetically when you do that. And this is coming from the heart, guys. So I want you to tap into your heart center and really try to focus on what's happening in the energy matrix when we go through this information, because this is very serious stuff and you will not get this in church. If you are having sex with either yourself on a regular basis, or you're having sex with a partner that you don't love, you don't care about, this act, when the holy oil or the Christus oil, which is Christ in Greek, when it comes down the kundalini, okay, the spinal column, and it reaches the sacral center, if it is expended and you have an orgasm and you're in a lower vibrational state, you're with a partner you don't care about, maybe you're in an environment that is not conducive to having a nice love space, these energy centers are very open, and they're not only open to suggestion from something that might be in the environment or with the person that you're with. You are open in all these energetic areas that are taking on the energies from your partner. Okay, so you better make sure that who you're having sex with is somebody that you don't mind sharing those energies with. You're also opening yourself up to energies and entities that would love to come into these open centers and use you as a host. Okay, so this is part of the reason why it is so dangerous. These entities want to have a host, and you guys can always refer back to my video on why it's dangerous to open your chakras. But when you're having sex with partners that you don't love, and you're in an environment that is very low vibration, these entities come in, they take hold, and they're just looking to satisfy those sexual urges that they get to take advantage of while being in your your energetic space. These astral parasites are feeding off of you. And so we can create these habits of having sex in places that are not good. We can lose our energy. We're very open to suggestion. We lose the ability to say no, to have good self-worth, high self-esteem, and to be able to maintain our energy frequencies. And I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, so I hope that you guys are staying with me on that. The sexual experience is meant to extend far beyond the functions of your crotch. This is something that happens on a deeper level that is affected. And before you know it, the familiarity of those low vibration acts become no big deal. But rest assured, just sex is never just sex. There's always something deeper that's going on inside. So I want to make sure that we kind of have a better understanding about that. Now, whereas I'm not an extremist, I do want to explain what happens when you experience sacred sex and the God brain is attained, even when the holy oil is expended through the orgasm. It's not, back in the day, there was a belief system, I know in Mormonism and Catholicism and a couple of other religions, where the purpose of sex was just to have children for procreative purposes. But that's, we know that that's not exactly true, and that you can enjoy partnership without having children. In fact, I think that's the responsible thing to do. But when two partners are committed in a loving relationship, whether it's marriage or the like, the energy vibration changes. It's more controlled in terms of the love space that you create with your partner. Okay, and I'm referring to a loving, energetic connection between the committed partners, so that when you are sharing these frequencies, both of you are protecting this space. You don't allow those perimeters from other people, other forces, other entities to be breached. This is a sacred union between you and your partner. Now, the Taoists, and I like this philosophy, the Taoists believe that during intercourse, the man actually receives his power from the woman's, when he orgasms, he receives his power from the woman. The woman receives her power from the universe when she orgasms. And in this way, they create a symbiotic relationship. Again, adapt your partnership to whatever it is that works for you. Okay, don't get sidetracked by things that aren't important. Stay focused on the energetic matrix of what's happening here. I want to show you this picture, and hopefully you can see what's happening in here, because it's very colorful. I took it out of the holder just so that you guys didn't get a gloss. But you can see these two lovers are intertwined. You can see their light bodies. You've got the lotus flower here. Their light bodies are lit up all the way through here, and you can see them connected here. The God brain explodes with this energy, and it moves into the universe. I want you guys to keep that imagery in your mind. Envision that, because all of your energy centers will light up. When you are with your partner and you do achieve that God brain state, when that holy oil comes back up, even if it's expended through orgasm, you can take that holy oil back up. The energy of the holy oil comes back up, it lubricates up here, and you know that that's happened because your spinal column, your tree of life, which the nervous system innervates, your spinal column becomes electrified. So every touch, every kiss, every caress is heightened when these energetic matrices matrices, couldn't get that out in English, are aglow. So now you know that your energy system is activated. And this is a very powerful and creative process. The religious organizations, I don't believe, understand fully what's happening internally. They certainly didn't explain it to me. But this is information that I think is really important for people to understand so that you can fully embrace your sexuality and have mindfulness when you are going through a sexual experience and sharing that with a partner. Then you can be more mindful of where your energy is going, what's happening internally to yourself, and how that's going to affect your spirituality. There is a shift that's happening globally in terms of our consciousness. So we do want to be more aware of where we spend our mind power, how we protect our energetic field, and how that's going to affect our spiritual awareness, because being able to draw on the macrocosm of the multiverse is where we want to be. And it is a beautiful thing to be able to share that with your partner and have twice as much power coming into you. So just a little bit of information on sexuality. I hope this information was helpful for you guys. I don't want to spend an extraordinary amount of time on it, but I did want to give you a little bit better understanding of what happens physiologically, energetically, and spiritually. Like and subscribe. If you guys want to read more information on sex, I do have it posted on my website at Galacticstoryteller.com. You can reach me at Galacticstoryteller@gmail.com, and we will see you in the next video.